Welcome, welcome everybody. This is funny, isn't it? Huh? Welcome to the Images of Resilience virtual storytelling event. We're glad that you all are here. I'm Shannon Cason. I'm co-hosting today with my co-host, Isaac Bruno. And Images of Resilience, this is our 6th year doing this event. And our 2nd year with Wyandotte Roosevelt High School. So we're so happy to be here today. Are the people here happy to be here? We have a small audience based on the events and the current circumstances, but we have a bigger audience out there in the online world and the whole community of Wyandotte, Downriver, and even going beyond that. So we're happy that everybody's here. Images of Resilience is the brainchild, or should I say the love child of Stephanie Prechter. Her commitment to resilient mental health and her family's commitment to the Downriver area. She started this 6 years ago, art exhibit and storytelling show. I talked to her before the event. I asked her about why she chose to start this event. And she said she wanted people to know that resilience is a process. It isn't something you just, you're born and you wake up and you're resilient. Resilient is something that you go through some things. You have some experiences in life and you become resilient. And the stories that you're going to hear today are stories of resilience. There's going to be some stories of people who have gone through some things, and the person that they are now is resilient because of these situations that they're going to share with us all. I'm happy they're going to share it. I mean, people come up and they're vulnerable and brave enough to share these stories, and that's pretty amazing. And in that, it's a warning. So it's going to be some traumatic scenes. This is probably going to excite some people to want to hear the stories, you know. There's going to be some traumatic scenes. There's going to be some adult situations. There's going to be mentions of things that you may or may not let suicide will be mentioned, some other things that be mentioned. So if people are sensitive to those things, protect yourself. That's the most important thing, protect yourself. So keep that in mind. But also a warning, I have this person right next to me is going to be co-hosted with me. Wow. Warning for this too. So I'm gonna say Isaac's bio, and you if you go to school with Isaac, you know. So Isaac Bruno is a sophomore at Roosevelt High School. Isaac is a member of the RHS a cappella choir. You can sing, huh? That's what I like that. A cappella means you can sing. Active in theater and very excited to MC this event. Isaac is 15 years old with a lot to share. And that's his bio. And since I'm talking right now, it'd be kind of weird, like if I read my own bio. So I'm gonna introduce Isaac and he can reintroduce me.
Okay, well, that was Shannon. I'm too short for the mic. Shannon Cason has told stories all over the county with The Moth, Snap Judgment, and his own podcast, Homemade Stories, The Trouble, and In Good Company, Detroit. He's the chief educator for the Brutally Honest Storytelling Workshop Series and has worked with WBEZ, WDET, Spotify, and many organizations. And he's originally from Detroit, which is like most of us are from.
Most of us. I appreciate it. Okay, so I'm gonna explain the show a little bit. Today's show is a storytelling show, and I've been to many storytelling shows, but I know a lot of people probably haven't been to a lot of storytelling shows. Storytelling shows are normal, everyday, regular people. I mean, in the most extraordinary way, but regular people extraordinarily telling their stories. These aren't performances. These aren't any kind of stage play or anything like that. So when you listen to these stories, listen to the heart of somebody who was brave enough to be able to share these personal moments in their life, and hopefully you can take something from it as well. So you're going to hear 3 stories today. Well, you're going to hear 4. We'll explain that later, but you're going to hear 4 stories today. There'll be short stories, and people will share them, and people from your community, people you even know maybe. And that's what we're going to do today for far as that. But I like to share a little story about resilience, because I was thinking about this in the car, and also this afternoon, Isaac, I was thinking about it. Like, what's resilience to me when I was thinking about it? And my daughter was coming home from school. She got home at about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I thought about her. I thought about my daughter when I thought about resilience, because she's 12 years old, and she's been through so much in these past 2 years, from a whole 6th grade on a computer. And I watched her on the computer. She's a outgoing, just loves friends, loves dressing every day on a computer. We moved to the east side of Detroit, so she had to experience a brand new school, making new friends, different family, situations. Every family has issues, so different family issues and those things. And when I thought about it, I was like, I don't know if I would handle it as gracefully as she did. So I look at that as resilience. Like, resilience is the ability to bounce back, the elasticity, toughness. And I see that gracefully in my daughter. So if she's watching right now, I'm sorry I ate your leftovers in the refrigerator, but Daddy, and if you leave them in there too long, Daddy's going to get to it. But I do see you as the most resilient thing right now. So I love you, Zoe. I love you, Zoe. So that's my story. Give it up for Zoe. Give it up for Zoe. All right, so right now we're about to hear some stories. Our first storyteller for today is Miss Kim Sclafani. And I'm going to read her bio, and then the next person you'll hear is Kim. Miss Kim Sclafani has been teaching for Wyandotte Public Schools for 15 years. That's your age. She's been doing it as long as you've been here. Her current role is inclusion specialist and coordinator for the district's peer-to-peer programs. She is also a wife and the mother to 3 sons. Give it up, everybody, for Miss Kim Sclafani.
Thank you. This is really hard for me to do, and my story is going to be pretty clear as to why. One of my earliest memories is having a panic attack. I was 5 years old and in kindergarten. It was our graduation day. I vividly remember standing alongside my classmates in a long line, facing an audience filled with our parents. Each student was paired up with the student next to them to share about a letter of the alphabet. We had to speak into a microphone and state our letter in a word that begins with that letter. As I stood there, I remember feeling very sick to my stomach, like I do now, dizzy, and absolutely petrified. I kept staring at my mom with tears in my eyes, hoping that she would save me. She had no idea what I was feeling or why. At some point, I left my classmates and I sat with my parents. This began a series of panic episodes that continued to worsen. Throughout my elementary school years, I would often feel sick before school and beg my mom to let me stay home. I didn't know how to express how I felt or what was actually going on with me. I only knew that I could not walk through those doors and sit in a classroom like everyone else. It was far too overwhelming to handle. Even when I did make it into school, I ended up in the office nearly every day because I wanted to go home. The fear I experienced related to going to school every day was all-consuming. I had trouble sleeping at night because I was worried about having to go to school the next day. I ended up making myself incredibly sick and spent so much time worrying about everything that could go wrong, it made it nearly impossible to notice anything that was going right. As I neared the end of elementary school, the anxiety I was experiencing began to take a serious toll on my life. When I was in 5th grade, my I reached a point that I would not go to school at all. My poor mom tried to get me through the doors each day, even walking me to my classroom. But the fear and belief that something awful was going to happen was too real. Although I have no recollection of this, my parents said that I ended up missing a few weeks of school that year. After struggling with the frustration day in and day out of trying to get me through the door, they let me take a break. At this point, my parents began to realize that this wasn't a phase that would simply go away. They sought counseling for me and for our entire family to deal with the problems that I was experiencing. The counselor offered some insight into what she believed was going on and described it as anxiety. After coming up with some new strategies and a plan to get me back in school, I reluctantly returned to the classroom. I was allowed to sit by a friend who made me feel safe. Also, each day that I stuck it out and stayed the whole day in school, I received a sticker on a chart. At the end of the month, if I filled in all of the days with stickers, I was getting a pair of rollerblades. This really worked at the time, and before I knew it, I was cruising around town on my skates. The anxiety didn't go away, nor did this new plan last. What I took away from this time in my life was the enormous toll all of this was taking on my family. Everything we did as a family revolved around how I may or may not react. I was very aware that it was creating distress for those around me, and I felt a tremendous amount of guilt. I didn't want to keep disappointing people. Day after day, I fought through the panic and the anxiety and struggled to focus in my classes. If there was an upcoming presentation or special event, even months away, I began stressing about it and feeling physically ill at the thought of it. Public speaking was the ultimate anxiety-producing activity. Great idea to do this. And it's one that I struggle greatly with to this day. High school presented a new set of challenges that I wasn't prepared for. Not only did I feel an immense amount of pressure to make my family proud, I also struggled with trying to hide my constant panic and anxiety from my classmates. I was terrified that they would find out that I had this problem and would reject me or think I was crazy. I felt crazy. At one point, I think my brain decided it was all just too much, and I began to feel like I was in a daze, like I wasn't really present. I've heard other people describe this feeling as your head not being attached to your body anymore. It was terrifying. I clearly remember one particular day during lunch when all of my friends and I were sitting around a table together. Everyone was talking, laughing, eating, and catching up on all of the high school gossip. I was trying my best to appear as though everything was fine, but as I sat there, I began feeling dizzy. My vision became blurry, and it was as if I was hearing every single sound at once. It was sensory overload. I just sat there, frozen, hoping that no one noticed and trying my best to catch my breath. When I opened up about how I was feeling to my peers, some of them were kind and tried to be helpful. They would say things like, "Don't worry so much, you're going to be fine. Just get up there and your fear will go away." Others weren't as kind and were convinced I was just looking for attention. They would tell me to get over it, or when they noticed signs of panic in me, they would say, "It's not that big of a deal." Not only were some of these comments unhelpful, some of them were straight up hurtful. It made me feel like I should keep my thoughts and feelings to myself. I began to hate myself for being different, for being difficult. Although I managed to put on a happy face at times and laughed off awkward situations in front of my peers, inside I felt like I was losing control. By my junior year of high school, I reached a point that I could no longer keep going on in this way. I remember laying in my bed one evening and thinking that it would be so much easier for everyone if I weren't around anymore. This problem, me, would be gone, and everyone could just move on. I didn't want to die, but my own thoughts at this point terrified me so much that I begged my parents to find help for me. I was afraid if I didn't get help immediately, I might truly consider harming myself. This was a major turning point in my life. My parents found a therapist who finally put a name to what I was dealing with and had a treatment plan ready for me to begin. My diagnosis was panic disorder, and the treatment included regular therapy sessions and a medication regimen. Within just a few weeks, I felt like a new person. I felt like the person I always wanted to be. I was excited to go to school for the first time in my life. I wanted to hang out with friends. I looked forward to spontaneous moments where I was not in complete control. It was nothing short of a miracle for me and my family. For many years after beginning treatment, I experienced no panic attacks and very limited anxiety. I understood, finally, what it meant to feel nervous. This is a very different sensation than anxious. I was so incredibly grateful for having such a long stretch of freedom from panic. With the renewed zest for life, I eagerly began college and decided early on that I wanted to be a teacher. I hoped that my experiences with anxiety as a student would help me become a compassionate and understanding educator. I thrived in my college classes and felt, for the first time, that I could fully engage in every lesson and be an active participant. I relished the opportunity to speak in front of the class and openly share my thoughts and ideas. Beginning my career as a teacher was such an exciting milestone in my life. I was so proud of myself for overcoming such a major roadblock in my life, and I used it as a tool to help others. What I enjoyed most about teaching, and still do, is that I can leave behind whatever stresses or fears I may have on my mind and focus on my students instead. Knowing that they depend on me and need my attention keeps me from losing focus. I experienced a few bumps in the road in my mid-20s when I decided that maybe I didn't need medication, maybe I didn't need any therapy. I was hopeful that I grew out of that part of my life, so I tested my theory and I went off all the medications. Within months, the panic and anxiety began to rear its ugly head again, and I was desperate to get back to where I once was, free. Now, I'm nearing 40 and still dealing with panic and anxiety. However, it's different than it used to be. I've seen how ugly it can get. I know what my body and brain need to be healthy and to survive. I trust in my team of doctors and therapists to help keep me on track. I have to take care of my mental health, not only for my well-being, but for my family. I am a wife and a mother now, and my family needs me to be present, truly present in every part of their lives. Recently, I had to speak at a school event in front of a large crowd, much like now. I was feeling incredibly anxious about it and shared with my own children how I felt. I told them that I wished I didn't have to do it. One of my sons asked me, "Mom, how are you going to give this speech if you're so scared?" As I thought about how to reply, I realized what a pivotal moment this was for me and for my child. He was truly concerned about how I, or anyone for that matter, could confront a fear. My response to him was, "I'm going to do it scared." And I did just that. Even though I trembled through it and my voice sounded shaky at times, I gave the speech. I didn't let my fear stop me. I turned it into the fuel that I needed to push forward. I now have thousands of positive experiences in my back pocket that I can use to remind myself that I can keep pushing. I can deal with anxiety and panic and continue to do hard things. Anxiety will not kill me. It will not hurt me. I have fully accepted that having a panic disorder is something that will never go away. It will always be a factor in my life. However, I will not let it control me, my happiness, or my freedom. If you are experiencing anything like I've shared today, please speak to someone about it. There is nothing to be ashamed of. The more that I've shared about my panic over the years, the more people I have met dealing with very similar issues. We have an entire support system within reach if we're willing to be brave and honest about what we're going through. Please don't hide the darkest parts of yourself with the hope that it will just go away or that you'll get better someday. If my story hits home for you, please know that I am here for you.
Thank you, Kim. As someone who deals with like a lot of anxiety disorders, it hits home for me for sure. So thank you. So I wrote this little thing about resilience at like 2 a.m. last night because I was working on schoolwork and one of the things was, what does resilience mean? And I was like, oh, this is perfect. So my little schoolwork thing defined resilience as the ability to spring back from things that knock you down, things that eat you up whole, and things that make you want to curl up in a ball and cry. And the way I say spring back makes it sound like it's easy, and spoiler alert, it's not. It's hard. Sometimes there's no way to spring completely back to normal, and I think that's okay. And I think we can try to just create our own different normal. COVID really showed all of us that one. Normal is now redefined. But change isn't always bad. Change is just different. Different is okay, and therefore change is okay too. A lot of these stories tonight are from people who needed to know how to change and adapt, whether it be from COVID or newfound challenges. They were changing for the better and for their own good, and I think personally that that's inspiring. The truth is, being resilient is understanding how to adapt to change, how to show change that you won't let yourself fear it with a constant what ifs and doubts and general fears. These fears and thoughts can't help you with change, and ignoring them takes a lot. So to everyone sitting here tonight or watching at home, congrats, you made it. You're here, you're present, and you woke up today, and you put on your big kid pants and said, change won't stop me today. And I think that's enough, and I think that right there is resilience.
Good job.
So our second storyteller, his name is Weston Bridges. He's a senior at this school, and he's a 4-year varsity wrestling, track, and football. Wes has overcome many challenges, and he's looking forward to sharing his story with others. So, Wes, where's he at?
There you go to that side.
There he is. Came from the...
West.
Thank you. I'm a little bit nervous. I'll just give it out that. Like everyone else here, I do have a story. And my story starts, it was 4th of July, 2020. And I was driving in my mother's car, a Kia Soul, on Dix, heading towards Southgate. On the intersection of Dix and Southfield, a driver ran through the red light and T-boned me. I do not remember the crash. I just remember waking up in the car, covered in blood, and unable to breathe well, and very confused about what just happened. I remember looking to my right, and the passenger door and window was up to my elbow, and I was the driver. I remember just seeing lights and just hearing a lot of commotion and the smell of smoke and burnt rubber. There was some witnesses of the car accident, and they were there to comfort me, but I was unable to talk or understand much or walk. There's a young lady, she ensured to me that it was not my fault because I kept on asking her whose fault was it, so I had no recollection of it. She told me, "That's fine, baby. He ran the red light. You're good." Instantly, I felt relief because I knew my dad would kill me. I just, and insurance wise, and that was just going through my head like crazy. The paramedics, they came up to me. They were asking me questions. Can I feel my toes? I told them no. Can you feel your knees, hips, fingertips? Every answer, no, no, no. Eventually they asked, could I walk? I remember looking at them and saying, if I can't feel my legs, how can I walk? So they had to carry me out of the car onto the stretcher into the ambulance. I went to Oakwood Hospital. I like calling it Oak. It's always Oakwood. And I remember getting poked and everything. Blood tested, this, x-rays, and CAT scans, MRIs. By the end of it, I should have been glowing, I think, for how much radiation I went through. And all I could think about was my football career is over. I remember from a young age playing football, me always wanting to go to college, play, and not even for education, just to play football, which is wrong to do. But after all of that, I still wasn't able to walk or even feel anything or even think really, very well. My mother and father walk into the hospital bed and they see how bad I am and how the state with tubes and needles and neck braces and arm and leg braces. After the hospital, I was there for 2 days. I ended up going home and my mother and father talked to me about a lawsuit that could happen. At first, I didn't want a lawsuit because everyone makes mistakes. It's a red light, you know. Sometimes I go through yellows, but that's just me. A little speeding. But then my mom and dad sat me down even more and they said, "Son, you know, if we do not sue, everything won't be covered medical wise and we won't be able to give you the help we can." And at that moment I realized, yeah, let's sue this guy, even though everyone makes mistakes. I had over 2 years of physical therapy. 2 years of physical therapy, brain therapy, more and more x-rays and tests. And I remember when football season started, you know, I went to go see Coach Adams, if he's watching, you know, hey coach. And, you know, I went to go up to him and he looked at me and I knew, you know, from looking at him, he was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I know, it's bad. I just started to learn how to walk. So I had crutches or I think a cane. But it hurt me not being able to play anymore. That was my life. Football has always been my life. And after that, I realized, you know, what do I have now? Nothing. In my mind at that moment, nothing. So I went into a deep depression, which I don't like to call depression. And I had lots and lots of panic attacks, and I suffered from PTSD. So I would see things, hear things, and I still have night terrors to this day, and even day terrors where I see things. But with a lot of patience and everything, I ended up being able to overcome most of the things. But the thing that sucked the most was never to play football ever again, or even wrestling. I just was able to get my doctor to go, you can do track, to throw, shot put, and discus. And just to be able to play a sport like that, I'm fine with. I don't think it's good to settle, but when you have no other choice, besides going against doctor's orders, especially football, you know, one hit to the head, you're done. I do have a brain condition, and I get special help from school. One of the best teachers that's helped me from all this, I'd say, is Mr. Souls. He was very understanding. His class was hard, super hard. It's English. But he actually helped me very much. He was, you know, talking to me. We sat down sometimes and talked. You know, he knew I could be a little late with the essays and I got extra help. But my main thing is, if you feel like your life is over because, let's say, like me, unable to walk, talk, or comprehend anything, and you have to literally start over with every single thing, your life isn't over, though, because you have more choices you can make. And I don't mean to make this a religious thing, but I did find God, and, I pray a lot and, self-reflect. The PTSD has affected me with my relationships, family, girlfriends. I'm verbally abusive a little bit, but I'm trying to work on that. I try not to blame things on the PTSD. Sometimes I'd be like, oh, sorry, it's PTSD, but in my eyes, that's an excuse. And everyone has excuses. That's the way I see it. But my main thing is to, your life isn't over when you feel like it is over. And, yeah. Go Bears. I don't know. Thank you. Oh, and I also got this from Miss Cahalan yesterday. The You Matter game. It's a really good game. Next year they're gonna have it. You should go check it out. The money goes to I forgot exactly what it's called, but it's a fun game, and love you, Miss Cahalan. So that's it.
Let me hear more for Weston Bridges. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up even if you're at home. Do a clap at home. Wes, amazing storyteller. I've been talking to all the storytellers before this show, just kind of like hearing the stories and giving feedback. And I remember talking to Wes, and when he first told that story, he talked about it just now. He talked about a choice. And he talked about, like, even when he was, am I right? You said you was in the accident, in all the crumbled up metal and plastic that's a car, a Kia Soul. And he said with all these tubes and lights, he felt like it was a choice you had. And that struck me, because it was a choice. He could go this way or that way. And I can tell just by his ending there, talking about the choice to live is important. So I appreciate working with you, and then I appreciate you sharing your story. So one more time for Wes. Give it up one more time. A choice. Images of resilience. We got this word, images. Of course, stories have images. There's images in your mind when you hear us tell these stories. When you hear Kim's story or Wes's story, you make images. But Images of Resilience also was an art exhibit. We did an art exhibit for 6 years at the Proctor Performing Arts Theater at Wayne Community College campus. So this year we weren't able to do the art exhibit, but we definitely wanted to express the love for art of many types. And this year's artist for our featured artist is Cass. Cass is our featured artist. Let's read this. I didn't even read this. This is a watercolor portrait of Bo Burnham, a comedian I love. He's been going through a lot of stuff recently and still manages to pump out content for his fans. I saw that as an example of resiliency. And that's Cass, a Wyandotte Roosevelt senior, high school senior. So give it up for Cass and her picture. You must like Bo. I hear you laughing to the side here.
I do like Bo, but at the same time, I know my dad's watching, and I know he absolutely hates him.
He hates Bo. That's funny. But Bo is okay. Bo is okay in my book. I've listened to a few Bo comedy acts, and I've giggled. He got some giggles out of me. But art is a big part of resilience. Your use of art and using art. I do a podcast called Homemade Stories, and I know using my podcast and telling stories on my podcast has helped me through many times of my life. I'm able to share like the scars from my life. I go through these wounds in life, and I'm able to share these scars on my podcast. And I know Cass, through her art, through his art, he's able to do much of that as well. You're an artist. You do a lot of art. You work in art. Does art have a place in resiliency in your life? Talk about art for a little bit and introduce our last story.
I'm an artist too. I do theater a lot, and that's kind of funny because everybody was like, the kid with anxiety can't do theater, and yes, I can, and I do, and it helps surprisingly because you just get to go up there, and a lot of art is you embracing things that you aren't, which sounds kind of counterproductive, but it's not, because you don't think about all the fear that you have. You don't think about all the stuff that you typically would think about. You're just thinking about making art and doing what you love. So it's really important that art is a big part of helping you through things. So our third storyteller, Brooke Mickel, is a senior at this school and the head drum major of the school's marching band. She dedicates most of her time to breaking the stereotypes around suicide by sharing her story. So she hopes to pursue a career in pharmaceutics. That's fun. That's Brooke.
Give it up for Brooke.
All right. I'm gonna put another warning out there for anybody that's watching. My story does contain contents of suicide. So if that would trigger you in any sort of way, I would, be careful about watching. Okay. I've always been a busy person. I've always been ambitious, outgoing, and socially involved. When the pandemic hit Michigan, just like a lot of people across the globe, I emotionally struggled. It wasn't any typical sadness, no, it lingered. And I've always had anxiety. It runs in my family. It's genetic and, just being around each other. But I've also always been busy with school and extracurriculars, so I've never really had the time or the need to address it properly. When COVID hit, however, I didn't have any of my distractions. No school, no extracurriculars, and no social outputs besides my family. And I was constantly surrounded by my family, sure, but I still felt so alone. And I felt like I was drowning in my own thoughts, and none of my family knew. I like to describe it as a spiral. One bad thought or worry leads to another, and I'm left defenseless to my own emotions and intruding thoughts. And it got to the point where I wouldn't do my laundry or shower for weeks at a time. And these overwhelming amounts of thoughts and feelings started to affect me physically. During the 4th of July, me and my family went up north in the summer of 2020, and I was just casually spending time with them around the bonfire and having a good time. Nothing to worry about besides whether or not my s'more was going to burn or melt off my stick. All of a sudden, amidst the noise and laughter of my family, my heart started to race, and it became difficult to breathe. I figured I would just go to the bathroom, wash my face, take a break, maybe get some water, then come back and, resume my good time with my family. When I got to the bathroom, I started to hyperventilate, and I couldn't catch a breath. It's like playing the dunking game that people play in the pool, but only the person that was dunking me wouldn't allow me to come up for air, and they kept pushing my head under the water, and I was drowning. I couldn't breathe, and suddenly I couldn't see or feel my limbs. Then I gently set myself on the floor of the bathroom with tears running down my face. I was using the only air I could grasp to cry for help, but no one was in the house to hear me. My mom eventually had to use the bathroom and found me on the floor of the bathroom, practically unconscious, but I could still breathe, couldn't make out words or anything. I thought I was going to die, and it felt like I was dying. Turns out, I was just having my first panic attack, and I knew I couldn't live like this, in constant fear that I would just have another attack at any given moment. So I thought it would be a good idea to tell my pediatrician about what was going on. I told her about the panic attack, but she questioned me further about how I've been feeling recently. I was in denial. There's no way I could be unhappy. I had everything and more than I needed and wanted. I have a loving family with 4 amazing siblings, straight A's, drum major of the marching band, amazing friends, but I still felt something, and I still can't make out the words to describe it. I just had a feeling that I wasn't happy. A few weeks before that doctor's appointment, the thought of self-harm might have crossed my mind here and there, but I was too terrified to address it. Even thinking about talking about it to someone just made my heart skip. So I just told her that I wasn't feeling happy and, not like myself. She told me it would probably be a good idea to see a therapist, and I hesitantly agreed. I've never been a fan of therapy. And I started seeing the therapist, and it was nice to have someone to vent to, but I still felt tired and unmotivated. I couldn't get out of bed. After seeing her for a couple of months with no changes in my mood, she determined that I have a biological depression disorder, and that the only thing that could make me feel physically better was to take some sort of antidepressant. Depression, antidepressants, there's no way I need any of that. I told my mom about the medicine option, and she suggested for me to just continue with talking therapy for a bit longer. She was a little on edge about the medicine, which is totally understandable. Any type of medication that has to do with brain chemistry is always a risk. And this was an easy way for me to deny the medicine, because again, why would I need antidepressants? I'm an accomplished leader, and I can't be depressed. So that is the persona that I decided to live up to, being happy and a leader and confident, no matter how I was feeling. So that is the mask that I put on walking into my junior year, the hardest year of high school. I really tried to do what I did before and bury all of the depression and anxiety stuff down into the place that I did before and try to distract myself with school marching band. Sure, I got drum major, one of the things I've been dreaming about since the 8th grade. But there wasn't much of a marching band season for me to lead. So that distraction was just more of a fuel for my depression. And then school wasn't really school either. It was just video chats of teachers who seemed to be struggling with their students, and it was 10 times harder to understand. When I was a sophomore, before COVID hit, around February, January, we were deciding our junior year schedules, which is a very big deal. So, the overachiever that I am, I decided to take 2 advanced classes, 2 AP classes, be on the yearbook staff, and be in marching band. Boy, what a task that was. Very, very difficult, and that is definitely still to this day one of the biggest tasks I've ever taken on. That straight A thing, it didn't last through my junior year, especially through one of my AP classes. This class was hard, as it should be. It's an AP class, but piling all of this depression and anxiety stuff on top of all the other hard classes I was taking and this specific AP class was just a lot, and it took a toll on my well-being. I would not shower at all. I would stay up until 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Doing my homework for this class and the others that I had as well, and it was starting to show on my person. I would sleep in school for the first time, be woken up by my teachers, and I was walking around feeling just like skin with clothes on, not mentally here. And it was like I had a cloud over my head, and everyone could see that I had issues. So I was burning the candle at multiple ends, trying to keep up with the live, me being okay, trying to pass this AP class, and being a working student, and being a daughter and a sister. Just as the first semester was about to end, I was trying to scathe myself out of this class with a B. Neither I nor my family was too happy about this because it's not what my potential can live up to, but hey, it's better than a D or a C, right? During a chemistry class one day, near the end of the semester, I was looking at my grades on my phone and saw that I had a D in his class. I walked out, stormed up to his room to tell him everything. My struggles with depression and suicide, trying to keep up with this class, was just exhausting. There I stood, outside his door, as if I was waiting for him to open it like he knew what was going on. So there, I stood outside that wooden door for what seemed like forever, and just decided to leave. He never knew that I was waiting outside that door, drowning and screaming for help, As I walked away, I just convinced myself that I was just being overdramatic and I was just feeling the typical stress that everyone else was experiencing. I continued to suffer in silence until the final exams approached, and I managed my way to work up to a C, but I was still aiming for that B. And I decided to finally Zoom with him during our lunch to tell him the struggle I've endured throughout the semester and that I really needed this B. He told me that the only way that I could manage my way up to a B was to ace this final exam, and that the pressure was expected for the class. So I studied for weeks, and I got out of my first semester in that class with a B. However, it did damage my straight A record. For second semester, it was even harder because the AP exams were approaching, and yes, I decided to take that exam for that class, and I also had to worry about the SAT. In my mind, the SAT was make or break for college, so it was a lot of pressure for me because I thought I wouldn't get into any good school or the schools that I wanted if I didn't get a good score. So I struggled all the way through all my classes, but specifically this class, all the way until the AP exam. I wound up getting a 4 out of 5 on that exam, which is an awesome score. But I still don't know if I think it's worth it. If giving a part of my well-being and mental health up for a test score was worth it. After the second semester, I got a C in his class. I still to this day am disappointed in myself in getting that grade. If only I would have worked harder, I could have done better. In May of 2021, I got my SAT scores back. I was so excited, and as I sat in my car and opened up the College Board website, I was numb. I got a 1050, and my goal was a 1250. So I walked through the school, felt like I was floating, and I heard everyone marvel about their amazing 1300s. That was the last straw. Nothing I did was good enough no matter how hard I worked for it. And if nothing I did was good enough, then what was the point of me being here? Those thoughts were the thoughts that almost pushed me to end my own life in May, not even a year ago. And I hid all of these thoughts and attributes from everyone who I held closest. And I made an effort for my entire life to hide as many emotions as I could from everyone. Everyone else has bigger fish to fry. So why bother them with my stuff if they don't want to hear it or if they wouldn't understand it? And I applied those thoughts to my parents, my friends, my boyfriend, and I didn't want to bother them. But as I thought about it more closely, I thought that if suicide was tainting my thoughts, that I should probably show my mom what I was thinking. And I brought her to the one place where I knew I wasn't bothering anyone with my thoughts or emotions, and I brought her to one of my therapy appointments. I sat down in that blue fabric chair and started to sweat. I didn't want to upset her by telling her that her accomplished daughter that she talks about at family gatherings is suicidal. But this was the last chance that I had, and I knew I wanted to get better. At the end of that appointment, my therapist and my mom agreed that antidepressants would probably be the most effective solution to this problem. So to this day, I'm still in therapy twice a month, but I also take Lexapro, which is an antidepressant that also helps with anxiety. I still struggle at times with processing and showing my emotions to the ones that I hold closest, but I know that I should always put myself before any A. And I try to share my story to spread awareness to kids that are my age, or any age for that matter, that struggle with the same problems that I did and still struggle with. Now that I'm a senior and about to graduate, I have the ACE that I desire. I applied to 6 colleges and got accepted into the 5 out of the 6. And I also maintain a very healthy balance between me and my grades. I haven't felt this happy or whole ever before in my life. It feels amazing to know that I defeated the strongest killer that I've ever faced, my own thoughts.
Keep that going for Brooke. Keep it going. That's amazing. Working with Brooke telling stories. We had a trouble because she's so busy. We had trouble like getting in touch with each other, but eventually we did, and she's just an amazing person. I just from her telling me about her schedule and everything else, but I'm glad that balance that you talked about in the story, the balance that you talk about. I think that's powerful. So one more time for Brooke. And thank you to all the storytellers that came up brave enough to tell their story, share a little piece of their life. Give it up for them one time. All right, so this is the thank you time of the event, so get your arms ready to start clapping. That's pretty much how this goes. But these people are awesome, all the people who helped to develop this and to keep this going for 6 years and 2 years at Roosevelt High School. So please give a thanks to Patrick and Karen Wilson Smithbauer for sponsoring the event. Also the Guidance Center, my friends Anthony Harrison, Alexander, I know you out there, everybody else at the Guidance Center. The Downriver Detroit Student Film Consortium. That's a lot to say, but Scott, you, your whole crew, you're amazing. The school district of the city of Wyandotte, you're awesome as well. So thank you for having this. And again, for Stephanie Prechter, our person who thought up all this, and one more time for Stephanie. I told you, you're going to get your arms ready. At home, y'all clap too. There people, and a big thanks to the person who bringing this all to these homes and online land, who knows how to work all this equipment and make this happen. Our production director, Zachary Grew. And I'm going to read his bio because he's an amazing guy too. A Wyandotte Roosevelt High School 2019 graduate, so he came back to do this, is working behind the scenes with production representing Downriver Detroit Student Film Consortium. So you're working with Scott. That's amazing. So one more time for Zachary. And Isaac has some people to thank, but I want to thank Isaac. Thank you to Isaac for doing this. This is, you don't know how much more easier it is with a co-host. So Isaac, you give some thanks as well.
Well, thanks, Shannon. I'll say thank you to you too. I didn't have that planned, but thank you. I have a list. Special thanks to Nora Keast. I know you. Hello. Erica Bennett. Lancey Remisoski. Oh my God, I feel so bad. Okay, I practiced, I swear. Felden Hall, Megan Cahalan, and Mary Cahalan. And of course, Maria Setka. Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? Behind the tree? She's hiding. Okay.
So let me say this. We have 4 storytellers. So we were going to have 4 storytellers. I said it's 3, but it should be 4. Our 4th storyteller, Dr. Ramon Griffin, was sick. And you know what period we in. Everybody knows where we at in the world. So he may have just had a like a sniffle or something like that. But at the same time, I'm sure it was more than a sniffle, but at the same time, we're protecting everyone. And I appreciate that, Dr. Griffin. So what's going to happen? Because he sent some words to share. What's going to happen is I'm going to morph into Dr. Ramon Griffin. And you see, we similar. We got, he a tall dude and he got his hat on, so we're similar. So I'm going to morph into him. So I'm going to have Isaac introduce Dr. Ramon, and then I'm going to read what he shared for us to hear. So.
Okay. Dr. Ramon Griffin is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Coordinator at Allen Park Public Schools. In 2018, he graduated from Michigan State University with a PhD in K-12 educational administration, focusing on the ramifications of no excuses discipline in urban schools, the hazardous effects of complex trauma, and the school to prison pipeline, okay, for adolescent Black males. A former juvenile detention center, Griffin has also worked in charter management organization in Houston, New Orleans, Detroit, and Chicago, serving youth. Ramon is a proud Fort Heights, Illinois native, and he holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Sociology and Criminal Justice from the historically black college Dillard University in New Orleans, Los Angeles.
Dr. Ramon. Dr. Ramon. I'm morphing into Dr. Ramon. And that wonderful bio as well. To say I've went through a deconstruction, reconstruction process over the past 15 years is an understatement. In 2005, I experienced one of the worst natural disasters known to man in Hurricane Katrina when I was a senior at Dillard University in New Orleans. 5 years before that, I was somewhat introverted and intuitive kid from a rural suburb called Fort Heights, Illinois, who sought out on a quest to understand this thing called life. Sounds like Prince, this thing called life. Simply put, I wanted something different out of life than the hand I was dealt. By the end of my high school years, I had lost over 20 classmates to gang violence, criminal justice system, and many unexpected life events. During this time, I also lost close relatives to various illnesses and unfortunate situations. Scared to death and ridiculously self-preserving, I started to sacrifice love and relationships, sports and friendships to figure out my life's calling. I wanted life to mean more than it did at that time. I was so destined to overcome my cumulative traumatic experiences that by 16 years old, I started surrounding myself with older individuals who possessed wisdom beyond my adolescent years. I wanted to live a bountiful and purposeful life, but everywhere I turned, death was right around the corner. I was in full-blown fight mode, and I realized that I had been fighting since when I was a small child with little mechanisms of support. Thankfully, the older and wiser individuals I clung to for guidance helped curb my anxiety through hundreds of deep conversations. I actually learned more about life from those investments than any subject or interaction I had in high school. While some people think that the true understanding is something that is learned in theory or books, I found that the truth is that it actually has to be operationalized. Put differently, before you can truly learn something, you have to experience it and live it. No matter how much I thought I knew about life and all the great philosophical wisdom that I had collected from my mentors, personally, I still knew I didn't know how to live. I thought I knew everything, but actually I didn't know shit. Case in point, let's go back to the beginning of the story where I referenced my experience with Hurricane Katrina. Well, I graduated from Dillard University in 2006. A year later, I was almost kicked out in the final weeks due to some foolishness that I got myself caught up in. Later that year, I went to law school at the University of Nebraska, but I did not make the required GPA to stay enrolled. I failed, flat on my face, publicly. From 2002 to 2021, that's a long time. I lived in 13 different apartments in 5 major metropolitan cities, but I have yet to find a home of stability. I've traveled the world literally, and at times I still feel like a prisoner in the country of my ancestors were brought to against their will. I changed jobs, quit jobs. I've been asked to leave amicably from jobs in search of fulfillment, peace and purpose. The tragic loss of several relatives, relationships, and close friends still haunt me and have left a hole in my heart that I've been desperately trying to repair for decades. I had to do some living, some crying, some failing to truly understand my life's purpose. I needed to experience for myself the way God intended for me to live, not the path cleared for someone else. In the past, I was so busy running away from the life that God intended for me that I completely lost who I was, what I was living for, and why he put me on this earth. I went west and God went east. I tried to move away from my suffering and anguish, not knowing that God intended for me to go through the fire to come out and inspire others. When you get knocked down to the floor, don't be so quick to get up. Stay down there on the floor. Find out who you are. That's where I found myself. Not through my successes, but through my failures, disappointments, and trying times. Watch this. I am now learning to repossess the true nature, my true nature and purpose. And even though I can't be with you tonight, I hope this message sits with you. There's absolutely no such thing on earth as a life that's better than yours. I'm gonna repeat that. There's absolutely no such thing on earth than a life that's better than yours. No matter what you see on TV, social media, or the person sitting next to you right now, God made you uniquely in his image. I'm expressing this in vulnerability and transparency so that those like me, who like me now, and those who might suffer a similar fate later can lean on my brokenness and pick at it like a ravenous hyena. Take what you need, including the bones, because I can't take the scraps with me in my fullness. Since early 2000s, I've been out of alignment with my true essence, and God found a way to teach me, humble me, fail me, and rise me again. What do you think he's going to do now that I'm in alignment with his purpose and his will for my life at the forefront? God has something for you as well. Stay the course, seek shelter in his word, and develop resources and coping mechanisms for the hard time. He's waiting on your commitment, is what you choose to do. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Dr. Ramon Griffin from Fort Heights, Illinois, and my purpose then and forever will be ministry and advocacy. Tell somebody you love them today, and he has catalyst. Doesn't he have catalyst tattooed on him somewhere? Where is it at? On his neck? He has catalyst tattooed on his neck. So that's the catalyst. That's from the catalyst, Dr. Ramon Griffin. Give it up for him. And that's a storytelling show, Isaac. How did you like a storytelling show? What did you think about it?
I loved it, actually.
You like storytelling shows then?
I do.
Okay.
I've never hosted one before, and I've never actually gone to see one, so this was great.
This was a good thing.
Yeah.
A good thing. So give your thanks and to everybody if you want to.
Well, I want to thank my partner for coming. I want to thank my dad for watching. And I want to thank all the speakers for speaking. I want to thank Stephanie for this opportunity, and Miss Setka for pulling me out of choir and saying, please join. We need you.
Excellent. Well, hey, we appreciate it. We're not going to prolong. I'm just going to leave you with a few words from every storyteller's story. Miss Kim Sclafani, I didn't let fear stop me. I turned it into fuel that I needed to push forward. That stuck with me. Wes, make the choice to live. That choice, that stuck with me. I'll always remember that. Brooke, I know that I should put myself before any A. I think somebody need to hear that. Put myself before any A. And Dr. Ramon Griffin, there's no such thing as a life that's better than yours. Thank you so much out there in online land, and thank you so much to the people in the audience here. Give it up for yourselves one time, and we hope to do this much more. Hey, everybody, be resilient, stay resilient. We love you. I need a handshake.
You need a